Hello everybody, today's video is about forgotten makeup gems that we have loved at some point or another, that are excellent and that aren't new releases. They're fairly old releases and we forget about them because they're not brand new, shiny and promoted. This is the stuff that is amazing quality, really great releases from years ago. All of them are fresh, by the way, nothing is expired, but for, things from years ago that were really hyped up, or they were really great, or I really enjoyed using, and now I kind of forget about them because they're not new releases. I wanted to film this to remind myself about what I really truly love in my makeup wardrobe to prevent myself from wanting more new things. Just sort of a synopsis of the makeup products that are so good and I have kind of backed away from using and I need to return to using. Let me know if any of those are familiar for you. I'm sure they probably all are. So first and foremost, I made an order for some skincare and it arrived with, you know, one of those pouches with minis and trial size products. And this reminded me of this product, which is fantastic. And I completely forgot about it until I got it in that sort of sample bag, I guess. I completely forgot about it. I used it when it was initially released years ago. And this is Lorac PoreFection Mattifying Face Primer. This guy, as I remember it, right now I didn't use it because it's still not summer. I would only use something like that in the summer for myself because I do have quite dry skin that tends towards normal with slight oil production around the nose, center of the forehead, and a little bit on the chin. Basically, a couple months a year I have that sort of a problem, and if I want to use some kind of a smoothing agent that would also prevent a lot of oil breakthrough, this Lorac PoreFection with targeted application, and again, if you have oil all over, then you apply it all over. Obviously you would probably love it actually if you have oily skin, but for me, specifically for summer months when I have some oil production in these I wouldn't even say T-zone area, it's really I-zone because I don't have the forehead issue. I do have some of that oil production, and this guy really takes care of it. It's very smoothing, erases pores completely as it promises. It's called PoreFection, and it does mattify very well. Better than any other primer that I've used, better than PoreFection from Benefit. That is another one I really liked for smoothing, but it didn't do as much mattification in those warm months when you're sweating, when you're having all of the oil production sort of ramp up. So I remembered about it and I'm like, oh yeah, I loved it. I finished off my tube that I had for like 2 years. I finished it off and then I forgot it existed. For some reason, it exists and it's still produced and I really enjoyed it. I'll be using it again this summer and I'll report back on whether I have the same feelings about it or not. And that was kind of the product that triggered this video, that triggered for me to want to remind myself what awesome things I have in my makeup wardrobe, tried and true. The next product that I want to talk about is this guy, and if you have been on my channel for a while, you probably are very familiar with it and you're like, oh, Daria, you're talking about this again. Yes, and this is my favorite powder, kind of like a powder foundation, and not only favorite out of powders in the drugstore, but favorite in general. This is Physicians Formula Mineral Face Powder, talc-free. It's usually called talc-free mineral face powder. My color is translucent light. This is the lightest color they produce, so if you're more fair than myself, you probably won't find a good color match. But this, my friends, is my absolute favorite face powder from the drugstore or otherwise in the pressed format. This has very light coverage, so it's not for those of you who are looking for a very dense in pigment of powder foundation, but it is for those of you who have dry skin, sensitive skin that usually looks bad with powder. This is a powder that you want to try because it looks fairly good on dry skin like mine, and it doesn't create any irritation at all. It's fragrance free and it has SPF 16 in it. Not much, but useful for touch-ups. So that guy is actually quite a favorite, and this one I didn't forget about. I keep using it and I always have one on hand. The next powder is another one that I reach for periodically and that I love and I've been using for years and years. And this is Bare Minerals foundation, powder foundation in the original formula. So this is a satin finish, not a matte finish, and looks fantastic on skin. It really looks like skin, even on my dry, parched Sahara skin. I can even wear it in the winter. I prefer to wear it in the spring and summer, but in the summer it tends to be even too glowy for me. It doesn't have any shimmer. The glowiness comes from the reflective properties of the minerals. It just glides over the skin. You buff it in and it looks fantastic, and you can achieve various levels of coverage with it because the more you apply, the more coverage you get. The less you apply, the less coverage you get. So very, very flexible in that regard. My color is Fair Ivory 02, and it's been the same always, so I've never actually had to change my shade. I am interested in trying the matte version of it, although I do have dry skin in the summer. I do prefer a more mattified look. I know some people like matte products in the winter, but for me, I prefer really dewy, really hydrating, protective products in the winter and SPF containing more matte products in the summer. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying this in a matte version. Let me know down below if you have. The original is fantastic for me and it's nice and satin, but I'm interested in the matte version. Tell me down below if it performs similarly to this one, if you have tried it. So definitely a favorite and definitely has been continuously repurchased and used in my makeup wardrobe for sure. Another absolute favorite that is a bit tricky, and I'll tell you why, is this Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, and this has been repackaged. Now it's in a plastic tube with a doe foot applicator. I did prefer this actually, the squeezy tube. This is a very thick concealer, which is called Fair Light Neutral. This is an excellent color match from my skin tone, which probably adds to why I love this concealer so much. First tube I've gotten of it, I tried it and I applied it like I would any other concealer under my eyes and around my nose, and I hated it. It was sticky, it was very emollient, it was cakey when I set it down with a good amount of powder because I wanted it to stick around and stop being so shiny and emollient. And with time I realized that the negatives, which frustrated me with this concealer, were actually amazing positives. This is extremely pigmented. If you know the secret to using it, you are probably going to like it, especially if you have dry or aging skin. This is an excellent, excellent product for those folks who don't have oiliness everywhere, because this is an oil-based concealer. So clearly if you have a lot of oil already, that's probably not going to be useful for you. But if you have dryness or crepiness or aging, this will be probably one of your holy grails, because the secret to applying this particular concealer is not applying much. Well, any concealer really, but especially this one, because of the fact that it's creamy, thick, emollient, and very pigmented. If you're applying it in even a small amount of excess, you are going to probably hate the results. Now, what I do is I literally, here's the nozzle, it's completely empty. I literally do this, pick up the tiniest amount, and this is probably enough for light coverage under my eyes already. That is the amount you want to use. You want to use the smallest, tiniest amount. You want to put it on your fingers. You want to warm it up between your fingers, and then you want to tap it in and press it into the skin wherever you want it. This wears fantastically if you apply it in that manner. If you apply a larger amount or you apply it with the brush, it does not hold on to the skin quite as well, and it looks kind of sticky and wet. If you apply very small amounts in tapping motions with your fingers, this lasts all day. It looks great. You can set it with a very thin layer, very, very finely milled setting or translucent powder, whatever you want. So it doesn't completely require setting, but if you don't like the if you don't like that wet finish, the creamy finish under the eyes, you do want to set it. And if you apply it in that very small amount in the manner that I told you about, it doesn't really crease at all. At least for me, it doesn't. And I do have those small crepey wrinkles under the eyes when I smile, just because that's the way my face is built. So I have pretty big cheeks and they push up the skin under my eyes, which then creates slight wrinkles when it moves. So I do get a lot of settling under the eyes with a lot of different concealers. This one is one of the better ones. Of course, there's going to be a small amount of that happening anyway, but it's very minimal and you can just tap it out with your fingers with a mirror very quickly. It's very easy to use if you know to use the tiniest, smallest, most microscopic amount of it. So another thing to note is if you're looking for a concealer that will last you an eternity, it's gonna work because you do get a fair amount of product. I believe it's 8 grams maybe. Yeah, and a net weight 8 grams, which is quite a lot for a concealer. But on top of that, it's so pigmented that you need such a tiny amount. So it'll probably go bad before you are able to use it up. I would predict that. If you don't like creamy concealers, not for you. If you have very oily skin, might not like it as much. And this is more for under eyes and hyperpigmentation, and it won't work as well for blemishes in my experience because I do like more matte product for my blemishes, so I don't like putting something creamy on them. So this concealer is not as much of a multitasker, but it is fantastic for under the eyes and hyperpigmentation, melasma, or whatever else. If you have melasma, this would be a really good choice too because it has such extreme coverage. It'll cover that. It'll cover a tattoo. It'll cover anything you want, but you have to use it appropriately and have respect for the formula. Next product is this finishing powder. I've been buying this for at least 10 years, maybe more. And this is Guerlain Meteorites. If you're familiar with Guerlain Meteorites, it's one of those things that either you love or you don't get. They're very expensive. They smell like candied violets. And they come in a variety of different shades. The base collection has, I believe, 3 shades, maybe 4, which is not a lot, but they're transparent. They're finishing powder. You don't need a lot of shades. They don't have a lot of pigment. And they always have some kind of a new seasonal release going on. And they have things that work more like blushes, things that work more like bronzers, etc., etc. So they do come out with limited editions all the time that are of different colors, and the permanent collection contains several colors that are just finishing powder for the skin. Mine is in 01 Temps Rose, and this is the lightest shade. This has tiniest micro shimmers that aren't really apparent on skin, and when you apply that powder on the skin, it makes the finish of your makeup really nice and luminous without any kind of shine or glitter. Shine or glitter are not something you're gonna achieve with this guy. This is truly just to finish up the makeup and blend anything out that needs slight blending. That's how I use this in the summer. In the winter, I use it as my setting powder because I need luminous and lightweight setting powder, and I can use this finishing powder as that. Nothing much to be said. I love these little pearls. They're beautiful, and it's either you love them or you apply them and you're like, I don't know what the fuss is about. I'm not even seeing any difference. But this is a very subtle product. It's beautiful and subtle. I really enjoy it and I will continue using it, obviously. The next product is my first probably YouTube made me buy it sort of thing, and the culprit is Lisa Eldridge. She used to use this all the time in her tutorials when she filmed more, and she used it basically every time she was applying makeup on camera. And this is Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector liquid, creamy liquid, and my color is Moonstone because that is my perfect champagne-y neutral shade for my complexion, but they have other colors too, so you can definitely find something you would enjoy. This is extremely natural looking on skin. You can tap it in with your fingers and it'll give you the lit from within cheek look. It is potentially subtle enough to use on your entire face, but then you'll have a pretty shiny face, so I wouldn't, but I do add it sometimes to more matte foundations if I want a more luminous finish. So this is also a finish adjuster for your foundation. Amazing. I love this product. You get a ton of it too. 50 mils. Holy crap, that's a lot of product. I'm sure that the size is made for pros. I do think that they sell minis, and I love the entire line. I loved the cream ones in the compacts that were part of the Shimmering Skin Perfector line. Unfortunately, it seems like they've been discontinued. I can't find them easily anymore. I love the pressed versions obviously as well, and I've used them in the past and used them up, and they're beautiful. Right now, what I have on my hands is this liquid, creamy liquid. It's probably a liquid, but it is more of a cream to the touch, lightweight cream, and it just works fabulously. I really love this, and I will probably use it up. And next, blast from the past. Not something that was in my past. This is a fairly recent discovery, but because it was talked about so much years ago on YouTube, I decided to bring it in because chances are you probably have this as one of those forgotten gems. This is e.l.f. Baked Highlighter. My particular one is in Moonlight Pearls, and you can definitely find other colors. This is a fantastic highlighter and so affordable. I mean, the pigmentation on this guy is awesome, and you can either have a very lightweight natural look, or you can build it up for a pretty significant amount of highlight. I wouldn't say it's blinding, but it's getting there, and it's just beautiful on face. I have to say, because I haven't been an e.l.f. user, I haven't really been into the brand because I used to be a bit more of a makeup snob, and now I'm not at all. I have to say that this formula really reminds me of a Laura Geller baked formula. I think they're pretty much identical to the touch. I really enjoy Laura Geller, and I think she has excellent shades and excellent textures. And this baked highlighter, if you just covered it up and told me, oh, this is a Laura Geller highlighter, I'd be like, yeah, for sure, yes it is. Because the texture is basically the same as Laura Geller baked product, and I love hers. So obviously when I got my hands on this and tried it, I'm like, this is excellent. This is like Laura Geller on a budget. So if you like baked products, I would suggest checking out the e.l.f. baked highlighters, blushes, and they also have bronzers. So I got a few because I really enjoyed the texture. It was a fabulous, very nice surprise, especially for the price. It's extremely affordable. Then this guy, oh my god, what a blast from the past. This is Le Couleur Infallible Pressed Pigments from L'Oreal. It's very beautiful, very reflective, beautiful pressed pigments. They're easier to use than loose pigments, the easiest to just use your finger. They're very beautiful, also quite long wearing. I mean, these are still available from L'Oreal. I have 3 of them here. One is Hourglass Beige, one is a Tender Caramel, which is more of a purpley taupe, and a greenish gold one called Sahara Treasure. All of them are fabulous. Why is nobody talking about these anymore? Because these are fabulous, really great quality eyeshadows, especially if you want that one and done eyeshadow look. There are matte ones, but matte ones I didn't really ever like from that lineup, but the shimmers or metallics, they were gorgeous. I was so impressed with the formula. If somebody told me that this is a Natasha Denona pressed pigment, I'd be like, yep, believe that too. Definitely, here's Laura Geller, here's Natasha Denona. I would believe that because she kind of has a similar texture going on in a lot of her palettes. So this is just a bigger version of one of those fabulous shadows that she makes, and I'm a big fan of that formula. So remember about these guys. They are definitely worth looking into, especially if you're a fan of those pressed pigment, really high impact, very glowy, shimmery, glittery kind of shades. So these are amazing, and they have fantastic colors still available. These 2 are just my favorites. They're a one throw on and go sort of shadow. Very impressive. Next eye product is this little guy, which some people are still mentioning, but it's not a frequently mentioned product anymore, and they were such a rage before. They are Prolongware Paint Pots from MAC. My color right now is Bare Study, but I've had a variety of them over the years, and I've finished off the entire pot before. Bare Study, as you can see, I have a bit of a crater in there, and it's a nice shimmery beige, which is perfect for my complexion. It's a beautiful shadow on its own. It's a beautiful shadow under other shadows as a base. This guy is my favorite eyeshadow base. First of all, it comes in every color that you might want, in different textures. It comes in mattes, it comes in shimmers, it comes in sort of glowy satin textures. So the color alone would draw you to them. The best part though is they are exceptionally long wearing. I have not worn a longer wearing eyeshadow, and as eyeshadow bases for loose or pressed eyeshadows, they are fantastic. They hold on to your shadows forever. Sometimes I apply a color and then I wear it all day, and by the end of the day it does not look dissimilar to when I applied it initially. I have tried a lot of different eye primers, and in my opinion these guys are still the top dog for me in my personal shadow wardrobe. And I've tried a variety of different primers, honestly, including the very, very hyped ones, high-end ones, a couple of drugstore ones, but not too many. I actually haven't tried a lot of drugstore ones, so there might be pleasant surprises there too. I'm assuming there are, but still, the MAC paint pots are my absolute favorite. They are fantastic. The last product that I want to mention are Buxom lip glosses. These are such a good old choice in your makeup bag. They are plumping. I don't notice any plumping, but I do notice that they create a bit of a cooling sensation on the lips, and that's probably why they slightly peel your lips by the end of the day, revealing the best, softest, newest skin, which is weird, but I really like that effect. I really like that it irritates and my lips and makes them shed all the extra skin. So by the end of the day, after one day of wearing this lip gloss, my lips are super exfoliated and in great condition because it's also moisturizing. They have a variety of really excellent colors. This particular one is Dolly. This is a mini. Usually they're about twice the size of that. And I've purchased a lot of them over the years, and I will continue buying them. They're really, really good. Right now, I have quite a few of the Rihanna gloss bombs, so I probably will get through those before I go and repurchase the Buxoms. They have kind of a similar texture, except Buxoms are cooling, and the Rihanna ones are not, or the Fenty Beauty ones, I should say. They're not cooling. They don't have that irritation component. They just are moisturizing. Texture is basically almost completely the same to me. The feel on the lips is the same, minus the cooling sensation and the plumping in these ones. So tell me, did you find anything familiar over here? Do you also agree that some of these guys used to be on top of every ranking and now they've been forgotten about a little bit? Let me know whether or not any of them are still kicking around your makeup bag. And also, let me know down below if you think of any others that specifically for you might be the forgotten gems and the oldies-but-goodies kind of makeup. Let's reminisce and think about our shopping behaviors. Meanwhile, that's it for today. I hope you guys have a good day, good luck, and have fun. Bye-bye.